Om Namaste. Warm welcome, everyone. My name is Sharada. I'm so grateful and excited that you're here. I see so many faces that I know already personally. And some of you are joining in our Facebook group. So I warmly welcome you as well. And I won't be able to see if you have any questions in the group, but you can, the ones that are in the Facebook group, but if you have questions, you can post in the comment and I will go and check it. I will check it later. And if you want to join us here in the Zoom room, then you can join for tomorrow and request the Zoom link via email, beonproject@gmail.com. And then you can join us here in the Zoom together tomorrow. We will meet again at the same time. So we are here to take some time to be with ourselves and actually also discover what the self really is according to the Vedic vision. And as many of you know, and as many just like you have been very inspired by the teachings of the Vedic tradition, or also known as Vedanta. Many of you here that are here with me live, I know that you have been equally touched by the teachings like I have been. And as you know, I've had the blessing to travel to California to meet one of my very revered teachers, Radhaji. And so I was so inspired and wanted to share some of this inspiration with you. Radha has been my teacher for more than a decade, and I've been following her through to many places, from Sweden to Norway and Greece and Italy and India, and now here to California to be with her. And there's nothing like it to be with your teacher in person. Like I have just another very profound blessing that I have the blessing to actually live with my other teacher in Bali also, that is also a Vedanta teacher. And to have that live contact there's nothing like that. I mean, I love the online world. I'm so grateful that we can meet online and that I also can continuously meet with my teachers online. But to be in person, as I'm sure you all agree, it's just something so special to be in person and to look into each other's eyes and to feel each other. And I've been so touched to be here with her again in person and to just absorb all her profound qualities. That it brought me to tears many times. I have not met any woman that is so kind and so honest and so authentic and so wise. She's been really a very important part in my life and has helped me through many difficult situations in life. And at the same time also has been a big part of, for me, for being a student of Vedanta, to really have the courage to dive into these teachings. For some of you maybe that are watching or listening, the teachings of Vedanta are maybe very new. For some of you, you maybe hear this word for the very first time. And for others of you already, like I said, have been with it for a long time. And no matter if we are new or old, the beauty of this teaching is that it never gets boring, and it is always actual, it is always valid, it is always needed, it is always blessing, it is always serving and helpful. No matter if we're new or old, the teachings are really always speaking to what is happening here and now, to what we are experiencing here and now as a human being. And so I just want to give a little bit of background to the teachings of Vedanta and then go into the guided meditation to give a taster or a glimpse of how it is to be with oneself. And we will do like a slow teaching, but in the form of a guided meditation. So when we say the word Vedanta, often we can get confused with, that it's some kind of belief or philosophy, or even a dogma or a religion. And it truly is not. When we use the word Vedanta, it means the knowledge of the self. So it means the knowledge of the self. And what kind of knowledge, or what is the knowledge saying about the self? Definitely not what we already know. What do we already know about the self? That it's limited, that it's limited in terms of time. Most of us, I think everyone here, otherwise the Veda says we wouldn't have taken a birth or a new life. We believe that we are subject to death. So there's a limitation time-wise that we have concluded that there is about the self. And another limitation is that we are limited by space, which means, like, if I'm here, like I'm here in California, I can't be at the same time in Sweden or in Bali. So there is a space limitation. I can only be at one place at the same time. And then there are many, many, many other conclusions that we've made about the self. If we look at in terms of the body, and the conclusion of that I'm an old person, a young person, an ugly person, a beautiful person, that I am in terms of the conclusions and judgments I've made in terms of my emotions. I'm a very angry person. Now I'm upset. Now I'm frustrated. Now I'm depressed. Oh, now I'm very happy. And in terms of also our knowledge, we all have made a judgment or a conclusion that I am as good as what I know. So I'm a very knowledgeable person, or I am a not very knowledgeable person. So we have many conclusions about the self. And has anyone ever heard that the self is actually free from all these limitations? Most of us here have. That's why we're here. But maybe some of us not. Maybe for some of us, we listen to this for the very first time. And maybe it's the very first time that I hear someone saying that actually the self, and when I now say the word the self, it could give the idea or the sense that it's some superior self or some higher self or some supreme self or some other self. So when I use the word the self, I don't mean an supreme self or an higher self. I mean really yourself, your very being, your very own being, yourself, like myself. And so maybe it's the very first time that I hear someone saying that the self in reality, in truth, is free from any limitation. We can say free from all limitations. What? The self is free from all limitation? Is that even possible? How is that possible? You must mean some other self, some self that I have to go and experience. So tell me, what can I do in order to experience that limitless self? Unfortunately, there's nothing that you can do. What? I can't do anything to experience that limitless self? No. But now you just said, there is this that I am, there is this limitless self. Yes, I have. So what do you mean? Well, I mean you are already limitless here and now. I am limitless here and now. So tell me, what can I do? I want to experience that limitless self. No, you are that limitless self here and now. I am that limitless self. Yes. Oh, I am that limitless self. But tell me again, what can I do to experience it? And so we naturally, as soon as we hear of something or hear of a place, like when we hear that this exists or that exists, we naturally want to gain knowledge of it, and then we want to go and experience it. That's our natural tendency. That's how we all learned to know something. I tell you about Bali, and it's so beautiful, and it's this magical island with these beautiful smiling people, with lots of nice and delicious fruits and water temples and rice fields. Oh, I'm gaining knowledge of that. Okay, I want to go and experience Bali. Okay, I'm going to go and buy a ticket if I have money. If not, I'm going to first have to save some money. And then I'm going to check out which plane I can take. And then I'm going to check a hotel. And then maybe I can step into the plane, go to Bali. And now I have knowledge of Bali. I have an experience of Bali. But here it doesn't work like that when it comes to the self. It's not that I can go do something and experience the self. So what's the solution? That's where here the Veda or the Vedanta, the teachings, says that you have to know the self. I have to know the self? Yes. You have to discover that you are already that self here and now, that limitless self in this moment. Okay, I have to know that limitless self in this moment here and now. Again, I want to go and experience. What can I do? So this orientation can stay for a very long time, this sense that I can do something and experience it. And this is where we require a very special means of knowledge, we call it, to know that limitless self, that limitless self that I cannot experience, that limitless self that you are already in this moment here and now, that limitless self that you always have been, and always will be. You will never not be limitless. And that needs to be known. So how am I going to know that? It's just like if I want to know my face, your beautiful face, you can't turn around your eyes and then look at your face. It's just impossible. So the world, or we say Goddess, or God, the universe, has given us the gift of a mirror. We all have a mirror at home, maybe not. And we have that beautiful gift of the mirror, and we can take the mirror and look into the mirror, and then we can see our face. And so the teachings of Vedanta are just like that mirror, to see our face, but here it's not to see the physical face. Here is to see our real face, the face that is most beautiful, most attractive, the face that you can never ever say, oh, I have to improve upon this face. I should have bigger eyebrows and less wrinkles and bigger lips. Nothing wrong with that. If we have a desire for that, of course we can do that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But why do we want to improve our face if it's already so beautiful? Maybe we want to improve it just because we're an artist and we love to play with the art that is there. Wonderful. But most of us want to improve ourselves, especially our face, and especially women, because it's not acceptable the way it is right now, right here. And then if I improve upon it, maybe then I will be acceptable. Maybe then I will be lovable. And that is very sad. It's very sad if I have to improve something upon myself just so that I am more acceptable or more lovable. And so when I can look into the mirror that shows me my absolute most beautiful, adorable face or self, because naturally we have a face and everyone has identified with the face. So here now we look at the face as the self, and I have a mirror in the form of words that tells me that I'm most beautiful, most adorable, most attractive. I cannot be improved upon. And that's the mirror of Vedanta. That's the teachings of Vedanta. That's the knowledge of the self, the knowledge of the limitless self. That limitless self that is ever available, is ever immediately available, here and now. We call that is self-evident, self-existent being, is ever present, is never not present, is always present. But because I don't have a means I don't have that mirror available to see that ever-present limitless self that is ever available, I don't really pay attention. I didn't need to pay attention to myself, my real self. I want to experience the world, and that's why I have very special means of knowledge, our special powers, like our eyes and ears and the skin, to experience the beautiful world. But they are not meant to know the limitless self. And so the Vedanta, a mirror in the form of words that shows me my most beautiful, most attractive, most adorable, whole and complete limitless self. Would that be desirable to discover? I would say so, yes. Very desirable to discover that limitless self. Why? Because the result of the discovery of that limitless, whole and complete self is what we call moksha, or freedom. Moksha is a Sanskrit word. It comes from the root moksh, to be free. So moksha means freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from all pain and suffering. What kind of pain and suffering? What's the real pain? The real pain is that I'm incapable of accepting myself as I am here and now. That struggle to become happy. The guilt and hurt that I carry in my heart. It's the cessation, the complete cessation of all that struggle. And not only from this life, but in all lives. So moksha, freedom from all pain and suffering, from the incapacity of accepting myself as I am here and now. And so in other words, it gives me self-acceptance. And that might be like, but I want ecstasy. I want bliss. Oh, self-acceptance, that sounds a little bit boring. Does it really? Like if we take time to really inquire into what self-acceptance is, and if we take time to really inquire what is underneath the desire of wanting to be ecstatic and blissful, which again, there's nothing wrong with wanting that. I love ecstatic experiences and beautiful, magical experiences. I have nothing against them, absolutely nothing. But what is underneath that desire? Underneath every desire that we have, really, when we start to inquire, we discover that all we want at the end of the day is to accept ourselves, which means to be able to just be ourselves, to be oneself. That is what self-acceptance is. I just want to be myself. I just want to be shanti, be peaceful. I don't want pain. And so we got to discover that that freedom lies in the discovery of the acceptable self. And the acceptable self is only the limitless self. I will never be able to accept a limited self. Never. And as long as I know myself as that limited self, I can never truly find freedom. I will not be able to accept myself. So I gotta discover that limitless self. And once I discover that, then there's acceptance. And acceptance is peace. Shanti, we call it. Or happiness. Happiness. We all want to be happy. We all want to be happy. And so we got to discover that everything in this whole universe is not capable of making me whole, complete, acceptable, or happy, or peaceful. Nothing in this universe is capable of making me whole, complete, happy, peaceful, or acceptable. What about my child? What about my partner? What about that great chocolate cake? What about my family? What about going to holidays? I feel very happy when I can go to Bali. I feel so happy when I am with my partner. Yes, there is some happiness there, but how long does it last? How long did the honeymoon last? How long did I enjoy my holidays until suddenly I got constipation and then or the traffic, or I can't sleep, and the bugs, the insects, and suddenly I'm like everywhere. I have like mosquito bites. Yeah, we do gain some happiness out of this world, but it's definitely not a permanent happiness. It's an impermanent happiness. But we cannot gain any permanent happiness out of this world. It's not meant to make us happy. So what is meant to make us happy? Is there anything that is meant to make us happy? Or maybe I am happy already here and now, and I just don't know. So we can ask ourselves, like that conclusion that we have made, that I am an unhappy person. Can I be really certain about that? Can you be absolutely certain that you are an unhappy person, that you have to become happy? That's going to be the sacred task to question that conclusion. Can I really say, be 100% sure that I'm an unhappy person? And maybe now you're thinking, yeah, but I don't think myself of an unhappy person. But haven't we all learned that we have to do something in order to become happy? That's how we grew up. I got to do something. I have to experience something in order to become happy. And so if I have to do or experience something in order to become happy, it means I have concluded that I am, in essence, an unhappy person. It might be very subtle. I might not be aware of it. It might be the very first time I ever think of that. But once we start to inquire into our behavior, into our life, into our choices, into our way of being, we start to see that there is some truth to that. We all got to discover that for ourselves. So Vedanta really makes us think. And that's where often we can have some resistance towards, especially in the spiritual world, because often there's a tendency, I just want to have a spiritual experience, a blissful experience. And there's nothing wrong with that. We can all have that desire and also have that experience. But the problem is that with every experience goes in time. I cannot hold on to any experience. I cannot hold on. If I have that ecstatic, blissful, most beautiful, subtlest spiritual experience, which might be beautiful and helpful and insightful, and maybe even the stepping stone to discover what spirituality really is, I cannot hold on to that spiritual experience, because the nature of experience is that they're limited. They come into being and they go out of being. So in Vedanta, when it comes to the teachings of Vedanta, we're not really interested. We're not seeking or running after a spiritual or happy experience. As a student of Vedanta, I'm interested in being able to be with all experiences, painful or pleasant. As a student of Vedanta, I'm interested in knowing the nature of every experience and to have the freedom, the strength, the capacity to be with all experiences of life. Because all experiences of life are spiritual experiences. There are no non-spiritual experiences, really. Every experience, everything in this whole universe, every being, every animal, every plant, every planet is spiritual. There's nothing aspiritual. Thanks, Goddess. Imagine we would only have blissful experience, our spiritual experiences. Only that person is spiritual. Only if I can do this, then I'm a spiritual person. That would be horrible. Because I don't know if I can ever do this. I don't know if I can ever experience that. So spirituality is not a division between people or experiences. All that is here is spiritual, which means all that is here is sacred, which means all that is here in reality is one non-dual being. One self. There are not many selves. And there is not a big self or a small self or a supreme self. There's only one self. That self is sacred. That sacred self is what we refer to when we talk about spirituality in Vedanta. And the student of Vedanta is interested, desires to know that sacred self. That sacred self that sustains everything in this whole universe. Every experience, every form, every name, every function. So we will see more of that tomorrow. Now we're going to go into a guided meditation to just be with what we just heard, just to have the time to let the mind be with this knowledge that we just were bathing in. Because maybe you feel your mind a little bit like, okay, wow, this is a lot. And so we want to now care for our mind, care for our beautiful body temple, and just let this knowledge sink, let it sink. And then we want to see what comes up, what surfaces as a result of this knowledge sinking. Maybe suddenly a voice comes and says like, but what about that? But I am not this, or I could never do that, or this is too difficult. We want to see what are the doubts that are surfacing. And then we want to welcome them. We want to welcome them and tell them, come, be with me. Be with me. Tell me what's going on. Tell me more about that doubt. And how can I help you? So we let all those doubts that result, that come maybe up, maybe not, as a result of this knowledge going in. And then we want all those doubts or questions or thoughts or memories or whatever comes, we want to let it come into that self that we've heard about now, that is limitless, and that doesn't really reject anything because it's limitless. It has no reason to reject anything. So we'll play with this now. So I invite you to take a comfortable position, and usually we are trying to maintain seated because often when we lie down, it's more easy that we fall asleep. And so if we fall asleep, that's perfect order. We just have a good restful sleep. And then we come back again to it, because some of us may be not used to meditate. So we just go about it very gentle, very loving, and just see what comes. So if you are seated, I invite you to take a comfortable seat, something that is comfortable to you, a seat where you feel very natural. And then also the hands, just let the hands rest on your knees, or let the hands rest in your lap. Again, what feels more natural to you. And then we want to have a straight spine if possible. If I want to have a pillow, you can always have a pillow, or also back support. The spine is our support. The spine is very important. It represents the support, the stability. And if we can, we want to have the head and the neck just on top of the spine in one line. And notice if you have any tension in your shoulder, then invite you to roll your shoulder all the way up to the ears and then roll them back, and do that 2 or 3 times. And take a deep inhalation as you roll your shoulders back. Inhale and exhale. And I invite you to open your jaw wide. And also to open your eyes still for a moment. And just to let the natural eye gaze take place. Not look at anything in particular. Just letting the eye gaze take place. Noticing the colors that are there, but not focusing on anything particular. And you may notice the blinking of your eyes eventually. Very soft blinking of your eyes. And pay attention to that blinking of the eyes. How soft, how gentle they are. They are like butterfly wings. And eventually the upper eyelid falls heavily but gently onto the lower eyelid. And you can open them and close them again, softly and gently, 3, 4, 5 times, until you feel that your eyes are closed, softly, without any pressure. There are no eye wrinkles anymore in the upper eyelid once the eyes are closed softly and gently. And you may notice a natural relaxation that comes from your eyes. I notice the relaxation in the temples of my eyes, behind my eyes. Just because I closed my eyes softly, I took the time to really close my eyes softly. And I let that relaxation that might come from the eyes percolate, distribute over your whole face. It runs down your cheeks. It runs down your jaw. It relaxes your forehead, the back of your head, your tongue. Relaxation comes all the way from your eyes, running down your throat. It runs down your spine. And relaxation is like a warm waterfall. It cleanses, it kisses, it washes away the tension that might be there stuck in your shoulder blades or in your sacrum. Like a loving warm shower. You let that relaxation that comes from your eyes soothe your whole body, and especially the places where you notice some tension, pain, or pressure. It runs down your arms and hands. Maybe you have a natural urge to sigh when we start to relax and slow down, when we start to cool down. It is natural that we want to sigh. We want to express through our sound the sensation. Let that relaxation soothe your buttocks, your genitals. It runs down all the way into your legs, your knees, your feet, your toes, the sole of your feet. And if I don't have any of those parts that I just mentioned, you let it soothe the energetic part. The energetic part of the body, if any body part is not there, is still there, always will be there. And you start to get a sense of your whole body, from the top of your head all the way down to the toes. And see if you can soften even more. Begin to notice where the sense of touch gives you a sense of being. We notice that really the sense of touch is pervading my whole body. The whole body feels. And you notice how skin touches the skin. Maybe your hands are touching each other. The lips are touching each other. The hair on your neck. The clothes on your body. And there's a sense of being. I exist, I am. And that is true. You exist, you are. And just acknowledge that fact for a moment. It is true, I exist, I am. And has there been any moment or any time in your life when you did not exist? Just let the answer come. My answer is no, there has never been any moment in my life when I didn't exist. So I always have been me, actually, myself. And what did change about yourself? Just let the answers come. See if you agree with my answers. Well, my body changed. I don't remember being a baby, but I know that once upon a time there was a baby body. I remember being a child, having a child's body. I remember growing up and becoming a woman and my body changing. So my body changed. The experience of my body changed. The form of my body changed. And the Vedanta comes in now and says, but did you really change? Like you, the existent being, the self, your being, did you change along with that body change? And just take the time to let this question sink and see if there's any doubt coming, any second question. Or if you agree, it's true, I didn't really change. I was me all the time. Yeah, the experience of my body changed, that's true. But my own self-experience didn't really change. I just have been me, I am me. So what else changed in your life? Well, my emotions have changed a lot. They're still changing. There has been a time where I have been more angry or rebellious in my life. There even has been a time where I was a little bit depressed, but that changed. There has been a time where I felt very excited and inspired. There's been a time where I felt afraid a lot. So my emotions have changed a lot. And see if that's true for you as well. Then again, the Vedanta comes and asks, but did you change? You, the one that is aware of all these experiences, all these emotions, these changing emotions, did you change? Your self-experience, yourself, your being, yourself, did you change? The one that can talk about all these different emotions, emotional states of life. And I have to say, no, I didn't really change. I'm still me. I survived. I still am. All these different emotional states. And what else changed in your life? Well, knowledge. And knowledge has changed a lot. Things that I know, things that I learned, languages, subjects, topics. Knowledge has come, but I also know that I forgot a lot. So I know that I have learned, but I also know that I have forgotten a lot. Yeah, that's true. And again, the Vedanta comes and asks, but did you really change? Like yourself, your being the one that is aware of all the knowledge that you've gained or the things that you've forgotten. The Vedanta says, no, you didn't really change. You didn't know more or less. You just are there, ever present, aware of all the knowledge that has come and left. What else has changed? Well, the surrounding. I moved places around me. The house I lived in, the apartment, the caravan, the tent, the yurt. Yeah, the whole surrounding changed, is changing constantly. And again, the Vedanta comes and says, or asks, but did you change? Did you change along with the surrounding? And it points out and it says, no, you are there just aware of the change of surroundings. You haven't really changed. You are the same self, the same being that you have been when you were living with your parents, when you had your first flat, when you moved in with your friends, when you moved in with your partner, when you moved out, moved into another apartment, when you traveled. You didn't change. The surrounding changed. And so you can go and continue and just see what else has changed in your life. What else is changing constantly? And is there yourself, your being, that is there constantly, unchanged, aware of all the changes. And how about you start to lean back? It's not really a physical leaning back, but more a letting go, a dropping into that being, into that self that has been, always is, always will be present, that unchanging self. Taking a moment to acknowledge, maybe for the very first time, that there is this self, yourself, that has been your steady companion in and through your whole life and has never ever left you, not once. I invite you to take this opportunity to acknowledge the gift, the blessing of your own presence. That being, that sound that has never left you, not once. That has been there with you in and through the most excruciatingly painful moments of your life. That has been there with you when you felt alone. It has been there with you when you had your most ecstatic and most beautiful experience. That self, that being that has been there with you when you were doubtful or depressed or angry. That self that no matter what is never going to reject you, cannot even reject you, or any experience whatsoever. Can you acknowledge your own presence? The presence that you may have taken for granted until now. But the presence, which is your being, that you cannot take for granted. Like anything in this world, we cannot take anything for granted. I don't want to be taken for granted. No being wants to be taken for granted. So why do I take myself for granted? Yourself that is ever present, never rejects anything or anyone. Yourself that doesn't judge. Is the blessing. Is the true blessing. And there's nothing more beautiful than to be yourself, that self. There's nothing more comforting. There's nothing more safe than to be yourself. Which is that self that we're discovering. That limitless self, that whole and complete, untouched, unchanged self. I invite you to take a deep breath and daring to feel whatever wants to be felt. Maybe you notice the feeling in the form of some sensations, bodily sensations. Maybe there's like a heaviness in the heart or some pounding, maybe even some nausea in the belly, maybe a closing of the throat. Just notice those sensations and welcome them into that self. And as we heard at the beginning, and now all the emotions, all the experiences, they come and they go. They can never and never have and never will touch or hurt or affect the self in any way. Feelings and emotions, the thoughts, their nature is to appear, to come into being, and to go out of being. And once I can welcome them, then they can dissolve. And the self can welcome them. The self is not afraid of them. The self doesn't make a judgment upon them. It sees them as the most beautiful colors, flavors, fragrances that make this life and this world what it is. Full and magical. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. If you want, you can chant with me. Shanti means peace. Let there be peace, freedom from pain on all levels. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Take your time to come back into this beautiful body temple of yours, remembering where you are, where you're sitting, maybe in your room or living room, remembering we're here together with all these other beautiful beings, and slowly open your eyes whenever you're ready. Or you can also just be with yourself and continue to just bathe in your own presence. So thank you so much for today. We're going to conclude here now. If any of you has any question or wants to share anything, feel free to unmute yourself. And otherwise, we'll meet tomorrow again at the same time. And then tomorrow I also will announce something. So I'll stay here for anyone that wants to share or ask.
Sharada Devi.
Oh, Marie.
Oh. Mm. Mm. With great deep gratitude in my heart, I want to acknowledge you. Your presence and how it's allowing me to be present more fully. And to also come to greater acceptance of myself. And it is a rare opportunity, I find, which is not really easily available in the world. To share in this presence, limitless presence and acceptance of who we are.
Mm. Mm.
So I just for the moment just want to acknowledge again you and the gift that you are making available to others at this time. And all that's taken for you to bring this gift. And it is such a gift, such a gift. So,
Oh, Maurice, thank you so much for your words and your love. I feel it so much. And I just feel the same. I have so much gratitude and love for you, and you've been such a big part of my life. Such a big impact. Yeah. I hope we'll see each other soon again.
we are right now.
Right now, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you for reminding. Yeah.
Oh, my heart is just singing, with joy. It's just, it's yeah, it's very rare for me to share at this level these days. So I feel very joyful.
Mm. Sama sama. And for those that don't know Maries, I think some of you maybe know she's been part of the Navaratri festival also. And Maries has been my initiation teacher into the world of sexuality and tantra and the Tao and really been my such a huge part in my life and still is and always will be. So much of what I share when it comes to the women's work and women's sacred process, it's inspired and blessed by Maries. I can really recommend everyone to bathe in her knowledge and wait. And her book is coming out soon, so we're all waiting for her book.
Prayers.
And Sanna is saying, thank you so much, beautiful journey. And Ida is saying, thank you. Anyone else wants to share or has a question? And then we'll meet again tomorrow. So if anything comes up in the meantime or in the next 24 hours, then it can always be asked later also.
Sharada, will this is this being recorded? Can we have access to this video later?
Yeah, actually it is. Yes.
Great.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. This meditation has been just the best. I mean, oh wow. Oh.
Thank you, Annalie. Sama. Yeah, thank you everyone so much. And have a beautiful day, beautiful evening for you. Some in Europe, it's already evening. For us here in America, we're just starting. And anywhere else. And hopefully see you tomorrow, same time. Lots of love. Om Namaste.